Good afternoon, welcome to our homestead and welcome to our garden. Today we are going to show you how to make a really super simple onion and garlic drying rack. Now we built and used other types of racks in the past, but this new rack is going to make things a lot easier. Before I show you that build, let me show you our onions and a little trick to get the bulbs nice and big. If you want to skip ahead and go to the build, you can. This information is really important, but what's even more important is the reason that you have to cure and dry your garlic and onions. And I'm going to talk about that as well. Check out these huge onions we have. This one's probably 4 inches in diameter, and this one is got to be close to 6. We've got some other big ones in here, but we've also got some small ones. And let me tell you what I did to some of them, but not all of them. So you want your onion bulb to grow above the soil so it can expand out. These are a couple of nice medium-sized onions here. And you can see that that bulb is sticking up pretty far. Now, depending on how big your start was, sometimes you get a smaller bulb like that. But when you're planting in these, you don't want to plant them too deep. Just a tiny, tiny little bit like that. Put the roots in there and then pinch it close around it. But if you're coming along and you're looking at your onions and you're thinking that the bulbs aren't developing properly, what you want to do is just dig out around them like this. Just move the dirt away from that bulb and give it room to expand out. And you can see I missed a few with these 2 small bulbs here. I did not dig it out properly and didn't give that bulb the ability to expand. Now when your onions start leaning over like this and yellowing a little bit, it's time to get them out of the ground and on your curing rack. And for us, this garlic is a little bit past the stage where I needed to pick it at, but that's okay. We'll get it out of the ground now, just don't let it go too long. Usually if the bottom 4 leaves are yellowed or browned and dried, then you want to pick it. But we've had unusually wet weather right now and some fluctuating temperatures, so it's led to this needing to get out of the ground now. Usually our garlic is in the ground for about 9 months, but we're sitting at 8 months. And that's okay, we should still have some good heads of garlic. All right, here is a nice onion. Now, I see a lot of people out there actually curing and drying their onions and clipping off the leaves. You do not want to do that. So we not only want the first few layers of skin around the bulb itself to dry and cure, we do want that stem to dry and cure as well. And the best way to do that is by leaving this on. What that does is that contracts and shrinks up everything in the stem so no disease or pests can get up through that green area and into your bulb before it shrinks up. That'll give you the best long-term storage for your onions and garlic. So before I do that build, I want to take you and show you my old racks and why they're a little bit more challenging than the new one that I'm going to make. Okay, here we are with one of our old drying racks, and it's basically just some chicken wire strung out over a wood frame. And this works great, but what I did in the past was I wove all of these through the chicken wire. So it took me quite a bit of time to get them all down in there. And this worked great. It got a good amount of airflow to that onion and to those leaves to dry them off, but it was tedious and it took a long time. This new one should be way faster. The other thing I've seen done with these is they're laid on their side like this, but when you lay other onions on the previous onion's leaves, it takes way longer for it to cure. And you're not getting really great airflow through it because essentially you've created this mat of onion leaves across the entire thing. Now let's go build the new one. It's not gonna take long. You're gonna see how easy it is. Okay, we're here in the barn and the concept is really easy. What you're going to need are 2 sawhorses, or depending on the size of your onion crop, maybe a few more. Now we just picked up these Craftsman aluminum fold-out sawhorses. They're only 20 bucks a piece. You do not have to buy these at all. I'm not suggesting that. You can make these out of wood. I've got some old plastic ones that are 10 years old that I could use too. But just have some sort of sawhorse, whatever that may be, for your platform. Or you can try to construct any sort of stable base out of wood. That's up to you. Here's the easy part on top for these onions. So yes, in front of us, we just have a bunch of 2x2s, and this is the cheapest way that I've found to do it. So what we're gonna do is simply make a slatted rack here. And we've got one 2x2 that we can cut into 3 to 4 lengths and use for our cross members that will stabilize the whole rack. And for spacing, we are going to use 3/4 of an inch. And that will give you the ability for your big onions like this to get this big thick stem through and hang there. But what it also does is give the ability for a very small bulb to sit up there. So I know I'm going to have some small bulbs and I need them to cure just as well as the big ones. The tools you need to complete the project are a drill with an 1/8 inch bit, some way to screw it in. For us, it's the impact driver. You can use a screwdriver, doesn't matter. Something to cut your cross members, and some 2.5 inch exterior screws. Make sure you don't go bigger than 1/8 with the drill bit because that'll be bigger than the barrel of your common screw. And you do really want to pre-drill the holes on these because this southern yellow pine 2x2 can split pretty easily. So if you want to measure these out and use some other tools to do that, you can, but it's not necessary. Just mark it a little bit over the edge of each side. Since we've cut this long for some stability, I'm just going to mark the edge so we can keep everything aligned. Of course, we're going to pre-drill our hole. Attach with our screw. Go to the other end, do the same thing, and then fill in all your center pieces, keeping your spacing as you go. Then continue with as many supports as you have. Well, that's it. And this is nice because it's flat. With the use of the sawhorses, you can just stand this up out of the way when you're not curing your onions and garlic, which is most of the year. So it's nice to be able to just lay this flat or stand it up flat somewhere in your barn. Now let's get this thing loaded up. So like I said, it's super easy to load these up. Just kind of drag them from one side. You can drag them right through and just drop them right on. You can see these small heads of garlic here still do stay on the nice 3/4 inch spacing. And you can get them nice and close to one another, unlike that chicken wire, which does keep them a little further apart in some cases. And of course, for your onions with these small bulbs, just slide them into place. So with your huge onions, you are going to need a little bit more space because they will sit over the top or over the center line of that cross beam. But you'll be able to get some big ones, small ones, big ones, small ones. If you alternate them and just kind of play Tetris with them, you'll get them to fit perfectly. Look at the size of that thing. It's also quite easy if you are in the center. Just kind of drag them, stuff it down in there, and you're good to go. But most of them will just drop into place. You can alternate big and little, it doesn't really matter. However they fit the best for you. Well, that's it, friends. A rack like that can really hold a decent amount of garlic and onions. And it really didn't cost too much. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment in the comments section below. Now go click on this video right here, which is our video on how we built what we think is a superior compost system. Have a beautiful, blessed day. We'll see you next time.